Rain fell hard on the steel roofs of the prison yard. Commander Ryle stepped into the open, his boots splashing in muddy water. Around him, 10 prisoners knelt, hands chained, heads bowed. Most were aliens, slaves, rebels, survivors. But one was different. A human. Dirty, tired, shirt torn from battle, but his eyes were calm. Too calm. The alien guards didn't know his name. They just called him the Terran. No one knew how he ended up here. Some said he walked across the battlefield alone and surrendered. Others said he let himself get captured. None of it made sense. The war had only started 4 weeks ago. Humans were late arrivals. The Kana Empire had been fighting among themselves for years. But when Earth joined the war, the tide shifted fast. The Kana called them Deathborn. They didn't fear Earth's weapons. They feared Earth's people. 30 feet away, hidden behind a broken wall, a young blue-skinned alien girl held tightly to her mother's cloak. She was no more than 7, her tiny fingers trembling as she peeked through the cracks. Her twin sister cried quietly beside her. There, Mother, tall, elegant, and visibly bruised, pressed them close. She had once been a royal nurse back when the Empire still cared for its people. But now she was just another prisoner, and the executions were about to begin. The warden raised his arm. The signal. One of the guards stepped forward with a plasma rifle. The first prisoner, a pale alien male, closed his eyes. Suddenly, a sound echoed through the courtyard. A loud splash. Everyone turned. The little alien girl had stepped into the open, pointing her small finger toward the prisoners. "Stop," she cried. Silence. The storm roared in the distance, but in the courtyard, not a soul moved. The girl pointed again. "Him," she said, her voice louder now. Her finger aimed at the human, the Terran. The guards hesitated. The warden growled, "Who is that child? Grab her." But the mother rushed into the rain after her daughter. "Please, don't hurt her." The little girl was shaking, her arm still stretched forward. "Him. He saved us. He didn't let them take us." The human lifted his head. The warden narrowed his eyes. "Is this true?" No answer. The mother hesitated. The little girl whispered, "He found us in the ruins. He gave us food, told us to run before the bombs." Ryle's face didn't change. He stayed silent, even as every eye turned to him. The other prisoners looked confused, even afraid. Why would a human, a Deathborn, help alien children? Then the human finally spoke. His voice was rough, dry. "She was crying," he said. "I didn't think she'd survive." The warden laughed. "So what? You think mercy makes you one of us?" The human didn't answer. From a ship above, a camera drone zoomed in. Someone was watching. Maybe a Kana general, maybe someone else. Behind the human's back, his fingers tapped the ground once, twice, 3 times. A pattern. Far off in the mountains, something responded, a flash of light. No one noticed except the girl. She looked up at the sky, then back at the human. Her eyes widened. "He's not alone," she whispered. And that was the moment everything changed. Because the human smiled, and the warden stepped back. Not because he understood, but because for the first time, he felt fear. Rain continued to fall over the prison yard, but something had shifted. The human sat calmly on his knees, chained like the others. Yet his eyes, dark and focused, scanned the skies. The little alien girl had seen something. A flash, a light high in the clouds, and no, she couldn't stop staring at him. Her mother pulled her back quickly, wrapping her cloak around both girls. "Stay quiet," she whispered. "We must not draw more attention." But it was too late. The guards were alert now. Their weapons shifted toward the human. The warden stepped forward, frowning deeply. His wet boots splashed near the Terran's chained hands. "You smiled," the warden growled. "Why?" The human didn't answer. Instead, he tilted his head slightly, listening. Not to the warden, but to the distant sky, boom very faint, almost like thunder. But the human's smile grew wider. Up on the ridge beyond the Black Mountain wall, 3 small blinking lights moved in formation. Fast. Unnatural. The drone hovering above the yard twitched, then froze in place. Static danced. Across its lens for just a second, the warden barked orders. "Secure the prisoners. Prepare to move them inside." Guards rushed forward. Chains rattled. But then, something strange happened. The human moved. Not a lot. Just enough. His hands, still cuffed, twisted in a strange motion. Then with a single jerk, click, the cuffs snapped loose. He caught them in midair and dropped them softly, so they landed without sound on the wet ground. The warden didn't notice, but the alien girl did. Her eyes widened. She tugged her mother's sleeve. "Mama, he's not really a prisoner?" The mother held her tightly. "Hush, don't say it out loud." Behind the guards, one of the chained aliens looked over. He was thin, sickly, and missing one eye. He saw the broken cuffs, and his mouth opened slightly in awe. The human glanced at him. Just a look, but it was enough. Hope, something the prisoners had not felt in weeks. Suddenly, a loud crack echoed through the sky. A blinding flash ripped through the clouds above. The drone exploded in a burst of sparks and flaming metal. Then, screams. A ship, sleek, silent, and completely invisible until, now, descended with sharp blue engines glowing through the rain. It hovered just above the edge of the courtyard. Lights turned on. Shadows moved inside. And then a voice, deep and mechanical, came through a speaker. "Terran Agent R-17. Extraction window open. 90 seconds. The guards turned in panic. "Shoot him," the warden roared. "Shoot the human." But it was already too late. The human was on his feet, chains gone. He moved faster than any of them expected. One guard raised his blaster. Crack! The human grabbed his arm, twisted, and slammed him to the ground. Another lunged from the side. The Terran ducked, swept his legs, and took his weapon. Psst! A blast fired. A third guard fell. The prisoners watched, stunned, as one human beat 5 guards in 10 seconds. Without armor, without backup, just raw skill, and still he wasn't running, he wasn't leaving. Instead, he turned to the little alien girl and walked toward her. The mother shielded her daughters. "Don't hurt them, please." But the human knelt down, eyes gentle. "I told you to run when the bombs fell," he said to the girl. "Why didn't you?" She blinked, then whispered, "You gave me food. I couldn't leave you behind." He smiled again. "You're braver than you look." Then he stood, turned to the prisoners, and shouted, "All of you, get ready to move." The warden, now bleeding from a cut on his forehead, screamed, "You'll die here, Terran. This is Kana space." The human looked back over his shoulder. Not for long. And with that, the ship descended lower. A ramp opened. More figures appeared, humans, in dark armor, weapons drawn, eyes glowing red through their visors. Reinforcements had arrived. Smoke rose from the shattered drone. The air smelled of wet metal and panic. The Kiana guards scattered, shouting over each other. Most weren't soldiers, they were just brutes trained to follow orders. And now their command was breaking. From above, the Terran ship's ramp lowered, and dark-armored human soldiers began to descend. 4 of them. They moved like shadows, fast and sharp, sweeping their weapons across the yard. "Secure the Terran," one of them barked into his comms. "Clear the extraction zone." But Commander Ryle wasn't running. He walked straight toward the chained prisoners, toward the one-eyed alien who had quietly watched it all. The old prisoner flinched as the human approached, but Ryle stopped in front of him, crouched, and asked, "What's your name?" The alien hesitated. "Sorek." Ryle's hand moved quickly. In seconds, the chains fell from Sorek's wrists. "Get ready, Sorek. We're breaking all of you out." The other prisoners looked up in disbelief. "This is a rescue?" one of them whispered. "No," Sorek said, standing slowly. "This is vengeance. Ryle moved fast, unlocking shackles and tossing small blades to those strong enough to stand. He didn't say much, just worked. But the alien girl watched every move. He had no fear. He didn't flinch at the rain, or the shouts, or the ships above. He moved like someone who already knew the ending, and wasn't afraid of it. The warden, now cornered near the prison gate, called for backup. Activate the defense turrets. Lock the yard down. But nothing responded. The defense grid had been hacked. A voice came through his communicator. Control override engaged. This facility now belongs to Earth Command. He dropped the comm and ran. The Terran ship's side door opened, and another human, female, sharp-eyed, wearing tech goggles, stepped out. She scanned the yard, spotted Ryle, and yelled, "We've got 45 seconds before they launch countermeasures. You bringing all of them?" Ryle nodded. "Every last one," she swore under her breath. Then, "Move!" One prisoner fell to his knees. "I can't walk," and Sorek grabbed him under the arms. "Then I'll carry you." A younger alien boy helped lift another. In that moment, species didn't matter. Survival did. The little alien girl ran toward Ryle again, this time grabbing his hand. "Are we going with you?" she asked. He looked at her, soaked in rain, tiny fingers clutching his palm. "You started this, didn't you?" he said, smiling. She smiled too, her sharp little teeth showing. "I pointed." "You did more than that." He lifted her into his arms, looked at her mother, and nodded toward the ship. "Come on." As they neared the ramp, the sky split, open with the sound of enemy engines. 3 Kana warships appeared over the cliffs, massive, black, and already charging weapons. "Commander!" the female soldier on the ship shouted. "We're out of time." Ryle passed the girl into her mother's arms, turned to the prisoners, and yelled, "Run!" They did. One by one, they sprinted up the ramp. Limping, bleeding, but alive. The Kana ships fired. Boom! A plasma blast struck the yard, but not the ship. The shields held. Barely. Ryle was last. Just as he turned to run up the ramp, the warden returned, bloodied, furious, dragging a large plasma cannon behind him. He fired. The shot slammed into Ryle's side. He collapsed, armor cracked, body skidding on the wet ground. The mother screamed. The girl cried out, "No!" But then, Ryle pushed himself up. One arm limp, chest smoking, he still stood. He pointed his sidearm and fired once. The warden dropped instantly. Ryle climbed the ramp, collapsing just as the ship lifted off. Inside, the other humans grabbed him, pulled him to safety. The girl rushed to his side, whispering, "You came back for us." He opened one eye. "Told you I would." Inside the Terran dropship, the air was thick with smoke, metal, and fear. Ryle lay flat on a stretcher, his chest plate melted where the plasma had hit. His breathing was rough. Beside him, the little alien girl sat quietly, holding his hand, with both of hers. Her name was Tira. The mother stood behind her, eyes locked on the human medics working on Ryle. She had no reason to trust humans, but this one, he had risked everything for her children. That meant something. At the front of the ship, the pilot shouted, "Incoming comms from Earth Command. Enemy ships are tracking us, ETA 12 minutes. Another soldier checked the radar. "Kana dreadship just broke orbit. They're not chasing us for prisoners." The female technician, her name tag read Elin, turned to the others. "It's the girl. The Kana want her." Everyone turned to Tira. The mother gasped. "Why would they want my daughter? She's just a child." Elin walked over, slowly kneeling in front of them. "She's not just any child," Elin said. "You're from the Miran caste, aren't you?" The mother nodded. "I was once." Elin took a breath. "Your bloodline carries ancient genetic codes. Kana warriors once believed your line was sacred. Royal." Tira blinked, confused. "So I'm a princess?" "No," Elin replied. "You're more than that. You're a symbol. And symbols are dangerous." In the back, Ryle coughed and forced himself to sit up. "You said they're tracking us?" he asked. Elin nodded. "They'll intercept us before we reach the extraction fleet." Ryle looked at Tira. She was still holding his, and he turned to the team. "We change the plan. We split off, draw them away from her." "No way," Elin said. "You're barely alive." Ryle looked to the mother. "You and the girls go to the fleet. The rest of us will lead the enemy the other way." Tira tugged on his arm. "No, you said we're together now." He smiled gently. "We are. But sometimes, to protect your family, you have to be the bait." Suddenly, alarms blared. Enemy fighters approaching fast. They're locking on. Elin stood up. "No time. I'll reroute power to the stealth field. We'll need another ship to split the signal." Another soldier pointed to the backup transport, damaged but flyable. Ryle looked at it and stood, wobbling but on his feet. "I'll take it." "No," Elin snapped. "You'll die." Ryle nodded. "Probably, but they'll follow me, not a half-wrecked shuttle full of refugees." Tira ran after him, crying. "Don't go." He crouched down to her level and wiped a tear from her cheek. "Do you remember when you pointed at me?" he asked. She nodded. "You saved me. Now it's my turn." They hugged, quick, tight, heavy with silence. Then the soldiers helped the mother and the twins into the second transport. Ryle watched the door close, then turned toward the cockpit. As the two ships launched into space in opposite directions, the Kana dreadship made its choice. It followed the one with Ryle. Inside the refugee ship, the mother held Tira close. She watched Ryle's ship shrink in the distance. Her other daughter whispered, "Is he coming back?" She didn't answer, because even she didn't know. The stars were quiet. Commander Ryle sat alone in the cockpit of the damaged shuttle, flying directly toward the enemy. His body ached, his side burned. Blood had soaked through the bandages. But his grip on the controls never shook. Behind him, the small ship creaked and rattled. It wasn't built for battle. It was barely holding together. But right now, it was the perfect decoy. The comms crackled. "Enemy dreadship has locked onto your signal," Elin's voice said from the other ship. "They're ignoring us." It worked. Ryle smiled. A slow and tired smile. "Good," he whispered. "Keep the girl safe." In the distance, the massive Kana warship turned, its black hull blotting out stars. Smaller fighters surrounded it like angry wasps. They were hunting. And they thought Ryle's ship was carrying the prize. But they were wrong. Inside the refugee transport, Elin and the others were silent. Tira pressed her face against the window even though there was nothing to see now. "Just space. Where is he now?" she asked. Elin crouched beside her. "He's being a shield." Tira frowned. "Will they hurt him?" Elin didn't answer. Because the answer was yes. Back in the decoy ship, Ryle opened a compartment under his seat. Inside, a single small cube glowing faint blue, a bomb, a last resort. He sighed. "Guess it's time." He stood, slowly, and walked to the center of the ship. Every step was heavy. The gravity was weak, but his body was weaker. He placed the bomb on the floor and activated it. A light blinked, then a voice. "Fusion charge armed. Countdown. 3 minutes." Ryle sat down beside it, back against the wall. He looked out the side window. The enemy was close now. He could see the dreadship's massive guns powering up. They were ready to blast him out of the sky, but they didn't know the trap was already set. He chuckled. "You chased the wrong ship." On the refugee ship, alarms beeped again. "Explosion detected," the pilot said. "Small-scale fusion. That was him." Tira gasped. Her mother grabbed her, pulling her close. Elin covered her mouth, holding back tears. The blast wasn't strong enough to destroy the dreadship, but it was powerful. It fried their radar, scattered their fighters, blinded their tracking systems. The refugee ship turned sharply and jumped into hyperspace. Undetected. They were free, because he stayed behind. Later, on the medical deck of the fleet ship, Tira sat quietly holding a small necklace. It had been Ryle's dog tag. Elin had placed it in her hand and said, "He wanted you to have it." Tira clutched it tight. In the command room, the Admiral asked Elin, "Do we know his last words?" She nodded. "He left a message, short." The Admiral opened the file. Ryle's voice played. "If they ask why I stayed, tell them." She pointed at me. 3 weeks passed. The war continued across the stars, but something had changed. News of the Terran who gave his life to save alien prisoners spread quickly, too quickly for the Kana Empire to silence. They tried calling it a lie, but they couldn't hide the truth. Not when survivors, alien survivors, were telling the same story. Not when a child remembered every detail. Tira sat quietly in a room aboard the Earth Fleet's flagship. She wore a clean silver robe now, and her hair had been gently braided by a human nurse. In her hand, she held Ryle's dog tag like a treasure. Across from her, a camera hovered. A human reporter asked gently, "Tira, do you remember what happened that day?" Tira nodded. "I was scared," she said softly. "I thought we were all going to die, but I saw his eyes." "His eyes?" She looked up. He didn't look afraid. Back in the control center, Admiral Keene stood watching the interview on a monitor. Behind him, Elin stood with folded arms. "She's brave," the Admiral said. "She's more than that," Elin replied. "She's hope." The story of the little girl who pointed at a human and changed everything began to spread. Not just among Earth soldiers, but across neutral colonies, and even deep into enemy space. Old slaves whispered her name in dark corners. Rebel cells used her story as a rallying cry. The Terran sacrifice wasn't forgotten, and neither was Tira. One night, Elin visited Tira's quarters. She found the girl drawing with a digital pen. "What are you making?" Elin asked. Tira turned the screen. It was a picture of her, holding the dog tag, standing beside a tall human figure with kind eyes. "That's Ryle," she said. "You miss him?" Tira nodded. "But I want to do what he did. I want to help others." Elin sat beside her. "You will." The next day, Tira's mother made a decision. "I won't hide her anymore," she told the Admiral. "If her bloodline is what the Kana fear, then let them see her." The humans agreed. A few days later, Tira stood before a crowd of humans and aliens at a peace colony on Valtros Prime. Reporters, soldiers, and refugees were all present. She held up Ryle's tag and spoke into the mic. "My name is Tira," she said. "I am Miran. I am the daughter of slaves. I was almost killed, but a human saved me." She paused. "And now, I want to save others." People cheered. Some wept. The symbol had been born. Meanwhile, on the Kana homeworld, generals slammed fists on tables. "Why is the story spreading so fast?" One shouted. Another growled. "Because stories are more dangerous than soldiers." And far, far away, a statue was raised at Earth's memorial station. It showed a tall human kneeling beside a small alien girl, her hand pointed toward him. Below it, a simple line was carved. "She pointed at me." 10 years later, the galaxy was still divided. Some systems were free. Others still bowed to the Kana Empire. But one name echoed across every star, station, and settlement: Tira of Miran. She stood tall now, no longer a little girl, but a graceful young leader with piercing violet eyes, her head held high, her voice steady and calm. People followed her not because of fear, but because of what she stood for: peace, courage, and the choice she made as a child. The day she pointed at the human. Inside the Galactic Unity Council chamber, Tira walked to the podium. Her long ceremonial robe shimmered with threads of starlight, and on her chest hung a small silver tag, the same dog tag Ryle had given her. The room fell silent. Ambassadors, generals, and leaders from over 50 species leaned in. Tira took a breath. "When I was 7, I thought my life was over," she said softly. My people were prisoners. My world was in ashes. I had no power. She looked up, her voice stronger now. But a man knelt beside me, a human, and instead of asking me who I was, he asked if I was okay. She paused. Ryle didn't see me as a slave or an alien. He saw me as a child in danger. She gripped the dog tag tightly, and he gave his life to protect me. Because of him, I got to grow up. Because of him, I now stand here. Whispers filled the room. Some delegates wiped tears from their eyes. Tira continued. There are still those who say humans are dangerous, unpredictable, too emotional. She smiled. They are. And that's what makes them worth fighting beside. Applause erupted. Across the stars, the speech was broadcast to billions. Some still resisted her message, but others began to believe, because Tira was living proof that one human, in one moment, could change an entire galaxy. Back on Earth, at Memorial Station, an old soldier stood beneath the statue of Ryle and young Tira. He saluted. I served with him, the man whispered. He was always quiet, but when it mattered most, he spoke with actions. Beside him, a young boy looked up and asked, Did she really save a whole planet? No, the soldier said. She saved more than that. She saved us. And in the stars above, where ships drifted and planets spun, the legend of Tira and the Terran continued to grow, no longer just a story, but a reminder that even in the darkest places, one kind act, one choice, one little finger pointing at the right person can change the fate of galaxies.